Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tanya with yanxa.creations, and today we have a really exciting one. At least I'm excited about it. We are going to be burning wood. Yes, so this is a chopping board, a mini chopping board that I picked up very cheap, and then I wanted to try out burning onto wood. If you get it done right, it's actually very beautiful. So we're coming up to the Christmas season, and I have a bunch of these mason jar cutouts, and I want to put a really cool Christmas design for my kitchen onto this mason jar. So I'm planning to go ahead and burn my design into this wood. So if you're interested, stick around and we're gonna get it done. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab a really nice design to put on it. But before I do that, let me just tell you all the things that we're going to be needing. So of course, we're gonna need our design. I'm gonna go ahead and grab one from Creative Fabrica, where I tend to get most of my designs. If you're interested in Creative Fabrica, there's always a link to trying Creative Fabrica for free in the description box. So what we're gonna be using to do our burn is a product that I found on Amazon. It's called torch paste. So I've seen some other videos where you can use ammonium chloride and you can mix it in with cornstarch or something to give it some bulk to make it gelatinous for it to stick onto the board, but I like to go the easy route. So I found torch paste and I did use it for this project, and it worked out really well. You just need to create a stencil, and then you need to put just a very little of this torch paste onto the stencil, and then it allows us to burn our design into it. So for a stencil today, I am also going to be using the Aura Mask 853 stencil vinyl. So you can use a regular permanent vinyl, Oracle 651, if that's what you have. I do think that the Oracle 651 weeds nicer than this stencil, but the stencil vinyl actually sticks to the wood a lot better, and I think it seals, the stencil vinyl seals to your product, to your blank a lot better, and so I tend not to get bleeds with using this mask. Whereas with the Oracle 651, there's always a chance of me getting a bleed. I mean, there's a chance of getting bleed with this, but I think this sticks down so well that I have not had any bleeding with it. But it has worked well, and it worked very well with this. I actually did not have any bleeding. So none of my torch paste went under it. So I would highly recommend this. I think, as I said before, I think it's a little bit tricky to weed, but once you lay it down, I think it goes on very nicely. So in addition to that, you're going to need a heat gun in order to activate the torch paste to burn your design into the wood. So if you do have a crafting heat gun, it's not going to work. You need to have one that has very high heat. This one has a high wattage. It's 1800 watts. I do have a craft one that I think is around 300 watts. The lower the wattage is, the longer it's going to take, and it might not go at all. So a crafting heat gun will take very long, or it will not work. A hair dryer will not work. You need to have a heat gun that is about 1000 watts or more to make this process go well. All right. So the other thing that you're going to need a bit of 220 grit sandpaper. So we want to make our surface as smooth as possible. So this I got in a pack of 6, I think, from Amazon. And the surface is pretty smooth, but we will sand it just a little to make sure that the surface is really smooth. And so when we put our torch paste on, it will go down nice and flat onto the surface. So I'm going to be using my little spatula to take out my torch paste. And I'm just going to use one of these to drag the torch paste along. But I'll show you exactly what I am doing. Okay, so you may also want to get out a pad, a protective pad. I actually damaged my cutting mats when I did this one. I did not protect the surface of my table properly, and as I said, this is going to be really high heat, so it sort of warped my mat. So you want to make sure you are going to be protecting your table during this project. Okay, so once we've gotten our design, we're gonna need to cut the design into the stencil. When I did this one, I used my Cricut Joy, so if that's what you have, you are still good to go. I've got my Cricut Explorer out on the table already. I used it yesterday for a project, and this is a little bit bigger. I'm sure I could do a design with my Cricut Joy for this, but I've got the Explorer out, so I'm gonna be using my Explorer today. So these are all the things that you're gonna need. Okay, so let's go ahead and send our design to the machine. While we are cutting out our design, we're gonna go ahead and we are going to prep our wood. So I just got a small piece of 220 grit sandpaper. Great if you have a sanding block, that's even easier. And we're just going to pick the surface that we want to put our design on, and we're just going to go across it lightly. Okay, our machine is done, so let's just release it. And we're not going to need our Cricut again, so let's get that out of the way. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and weed our design, and we're going to be using today some Cricut transfer paper to pick up our design. Let's go ahead and weed. We are reverse weeding. So basically we are taking out the parts that we would normally keep, and sometimes it's a lot easier to reverse weed, even to weed if you are looking at the actual design. Okay? So let's go ahead and start the weeding. And when you are reverse weeding, we have to be careful not to pick up these center pieces. Okay. Okay, we are done weeding our template. Let's go ahead and look at that. All right. So we're just going to go ahead and use our Cricut transfer and transfer our template onto our wood mason jar. Okay, this is going to be awesome. All right, so let's carefully remove it from our Cricut mats and just set this aside. Okay. All right. It's curling up. Okay, so we're just going to bend our transfer sheet. Just go right down on top of it and let it go. Oh wow, this is a little bit lean because it was curling, but no worries, no worries, no worries. We'll get it down straight. We'll work with it. So let's take this up. And remember, we have all these little loose pieces, so we want to make sure that we are pulling off all of those, the middles of the letters, everything. So it's time to start the magic. So we are going to be using the torch paste. I got this on Amazon and I will leave a link for you. There's nothing that you need to do. This is what it looks like. You can, I won't even dip into the jar. We have some in the cover and you really need very, very little for this project. Really, really little. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my squeegee. One of those nice silicone squeegees would have been nicer. I've ordered some along with some paint, so when that gets here I'll use it, but for the time being I'm just going to be using the scraper tool. I've used it before and it works. I think it would work better with the silicone, but let's go ahead. So we really need only a little, so we'll see how far this gets us and what else we need to add to it, but you want a very, very thin layer on the wood. And we don't want to get any of it on the wood itself, which I just did. You don't want that. Although I thought I made this big enough to prevent that. So just be careful. Don't be in a rush. Don't be like me who got it on there. So this is a much bigger project than what I did before. So I will actually need a little bit more. So you can add more because at the end you can just scrape it right off. All right, whatever you don't use, you can scrape it right off and put it back in the container. All right. All right, that's it. It only needs to sit there for about 2 minutes. And we are just going to go ahead and peel this off. Okay, I am all done moving the stencil. So as you can see, this project is like you're weeding twice. You're weed to make the stencil and you're weeding to get it off as well. But then it just means that our blue stencil is really nicely on there. So here's our design, but we are going to let the magic happen right now. We are going to now go ahead and burn this design into the wood. All right, so we don't want to damage our surface with the wood, so I've laid down this mat to protect it, and we are going to just go ahead and switch on. I'm going to switch my heat gun to the, let me go ahead. Right, so I'm going to switch my heat gun to the highest level and allow it to heat up for a bit. Allow it to get warm. So my heat gun comes with a couple of different attachments. I chose to use this attachment because I think it gives me the ability to have that air being very, very focused onto the areas that I want it to be. All right. So I did get a little bit of my, of the torch paste right here at the top of my stencil. But don't worry, I'm going to be covering this area with ribbons, and I'm going to be putting a hole in the top in order to hang it. So my heat gun should be warm. We're going to start off by just going ahead and warming up our wood. All right. And the magic is about to happen. We're going to do some magic. So we can just slowly pass it along, warming up the wood. So I don't know if you can see it slowly starting to darken. So we want to keep this moving, nowhere for too long. So the end here is pretty hot, so be careful how you put that down. You don't want that to damage your surface as well. So this is our design. And as you can see, we have some areas that are darker than others, and you can control how dark you want it to be by how long you leave the heat there, and whether you want it to have a gradient like this one has. And I like having the gradient, having some areas darker than others. Let's see, should we make anywhere else darker? I like this. So here is our board. All right, so here is our design, and I think it's pretty cute. I like the different areas that are the different shades. I like that we do have some scorching of the wood, so it's not completely yellow pine with the words on it, but it looks really nice and burnt because we're burning the design in the wood. Yeah. So okay, once you've gotten to this point, you want to get a dry cloth or a dry paper towel, and then you just want to wipe off that design because you're going to have some residue from the burns. We're going to wipe down that design, and then we can go over this with, either spray sealant, or we can use some polyurethane or some polyacrylic over the surface to protect the surface over time. So if you were ever interested in doing wood burning and you just wanted to get those steps, I hope this was helpful for you. If it was, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help the channel if you do. And if you want to see some more projects, if this was a good video for you, consider subscribing. I'm here every week with a new craft video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.